Hello and welcome, everyone. Uh, and there's our usual auto host from C Sharp Fritz. C Sharp Fritz. So anybody that was lurking around in there, welcome. We are just about to get started here, and as usual, we will be writing some C Sharp code. So this will be fun. Today is Saturday, and I hope everybody is having a good one. I know that there are a couple of other streaming events going on, and hopefully you all are going to enjoy this one. So today on DevChatter, we are going to be continuing on with our C# chatbot that we've been working on over the past few streams. I made a couple of changes that I want to show you guys, and we're going to take a look at them. I have not sent in the pull request for this yet, so still open for your guys' feedback, but I did a couple of interesting things. And we're going to take a look at those right now. Let me pull GitHub over the screen. Hey Lumen, how's it going? Alright, so what we've got here, guys, is one new branch that I created for database persistence. And the changes that are significant on this branch are that I have made it so that we're now using a SQL local DB instead of using an in-memory database in Entity Framework Core. So we are actually going to be doing a real database, which meant that I had to make some significant changes to our model. Awesome, Lumen. Congrats, by the way. The changes to the model were mostly because the auto migration in EF Core wasn't picking up how our data was structured, and EF wasn't actually mapping the data correctly when we weren't using the in-memory one. So the in-memory one has some like tricky little weirdness that we were kind of taking advantage of before, in that it would allow us to get away with some things that wouldn't happen in real SQL when we were actually writing to a database. And so I commented about those a couple of times. But here's the significant change. So over in the documentation for setting up the bot, which actually I think there's a link from here. Yeah, setting up the bot locally. When you go to set up the bot, the significant thing that you need to make sure you do now is set your connection string to a database that will work on your computer. And if you don't want to use the default one that we use in here, because for local development we can get away with the default, there's not really any secrets in there. If you use user secrets, you'll be able to customize that connection string without worrying about checking in your change. So you should be able to get away with that. The only case where that won't work perfectly is if you are doing if you're adding a new migration using the command line tools in EF Core, it probably won't pick that up because there's a separate configuration that happens for that, because we needed to set up a design time configuration, and so I didn't have access to the same steps. If there is someone that's going to do that, we can add user secrets into that pipeline as well. I just didn't put it in yet. Okay, so these are the instructions for how to set it up. The nice thing is the application will actually create this database for us, so there's not actually any extra step for you to take other than just making sure that connection string will work for you. So if you want to take a look at the database that's available to us, you could open up this, the SQL Server Object Explorer, and to do that you just come over here, SQL Server Object Explorer. There are keyboard shortcuts for it as well. So this is the database that our connection string is set to connect to. You'll see it right here inside of the app settings JSON file. I figured this was standard enough that we weren't going to run into problems. Almost everybody's going to have this set up and just be able to do a trusted connection to it. If you can't, again, as I said, just change your user secrets so that you can do it. And over here, if I pull open the database, you'll see that there is currently not a DevChatter bot database in that list. I have a couple of others that I work with locally. So what I want to do is I'm just going to go ahead and run this application. Now, I actually haven't tested it yet today, so I didn't get around to it this morning. And I was last developing it not on this computer, so we're going to see how well the works on my machine effect happens here. Okay, so the bot entered chat. And you should see down in the chat window, down in what is on your right and my left over there, you should see in that little chat box that the bot has arrived, it announced itself, and it is going to be doing a couple of things. So the first one that I want to try is just to confirm that it is accepting commands at all. Okay, so the lurk command is set up and working, it seems, because it was able to respond to that. Which means that if I take a look here, whoops, not that, this, I should be able to refresh the databases. So it created our database, and we have tables. So we're tracking users now. We have our interval messages, which are the things where it reminds everybody to click the follow button if you haven't. It is keeping track of any quotes that we want to tell it to store. So if I say anything completely ridiculous or very insightful, hopefully I say the latter at some point, then we will get to see that. The next thing in here is we have a simple command, and these are all the commands like the lurk command that just does an auto response. And I will show you that data. So let's go ahead and take a look inside of Setup Database. So our other ones are things like GitHub. So if you want to take a look at this code, you can actually go to that GitHub link that was just sent into chat. And if you want to talk with any of the other dev chatter people outside of the stream, you can go ahead and click the Discord link, which is also down below. If you are watching this on Twitch on the website, there is definitely a link down below to connect to our Discord and talk with people. So the couple of things to notice. So we're doing these simple commands which do that response. If you look at the command I did when I did a lurk, which I'll do another one so you can see it, it mentions dev chatter in there. So we're essentially doing these little replacement tokens. So anytime you do a little square brace token like this, what will happen is our backend processing will look at that, and for any of these responses, it'll find all of those tokens, looking for the square brace setup like this, and it'll make a list of those. And it's then going to check any replacements that we have set up. So we have it set up so that there are different tokens we can replace. If you used one of the ones we support, it will fetch the data from whatever source it needs to get it from. So right now what it does is it takes in the data that was brought in from the command. So in this case it knows about things like who sent it. But our intention, and this is actually one of our work items we want to get to in the future, is to make it so that it could actually go out to an API to fetch that if it sees certain tokens. And obviously for anything that's going out to an API, we're going to want to make sure that we cache that so that we don't run into anything there. Additionally, just for the simplicity of getting the database piece working, I removed our existing caching layer, which was just a hand-rolled caching layer that we built, an in-memory cache. We did that on stream. And we did that because people were asking about caching. And generally speaking, if you ask me about something on stream, I will cover it. So, assuming I know about it. And if I don't, then we'll fumble through it together. Okay, so let's take a look at what we are going to work on today. Oh, one other point I wanted to note here. The way I have it set up, this initial data, so this is the initial data that we put into the bot. I basically put in a little safety here that says, if there are already rows in those tables in the database, then don't add the new ones. So that means that every time you run this bot, we run this little method which does a data migration, and that will set up the database if it's needed, and if it's not, then this essentially will no op. So it looks to see if the database needs updating. And then this piece will make sure that we have data in there. So what we do first is we make sure the database exists. We then set up a repository to access the database because we know it exists at this point. And then once it exists, we go and fill it with the data if it needs to be filled with data. So what that means to us is if for some reason I did need to delete the commands out of there, maybe we mess them up because we're doing something, I can do that and it will go ahead and recreate the set of commands for us. So there's a couple of little conveniences there. And other than that, it should now, while it's running, be tracking coins for us. So you'll notice that over here, there are some people in chat. The bot has recognized that you're in here in some way, if you see your name in this list, and it should be adding tokens to you. Now, I'm hoping that it's not making multiple instances of us, because you'll remember when we first added this feature, I pointed out that I did not make this thread safe, and we are in a multi-threaded scenario, so it is very likely that this piece could get messed up very easily. So that's actually one of the things that I want to fix today, is making sure that this doesn't give us any troubles. So let's take a look at what we can in the bot. So that was the quick review of that, and I am going to go ahead and do the pull request and actually put this code in there. So this is going to be the new live version of the bot. It will actually use the database, so if you are running this locally, just make sure that if you do get latest, that you are prepared to set up the connection string and actually make that work. And it really just means verify that this connection string will work for you, because there is a default one in there. And if there are any issues with it, let me know, and we can work through it together either to get it working for you. Okay. Oh, sorry, I didn't show you guys. Hey, I just merged this in, so that was our big change just came in. Okay. So, what I'm going to do now is switch us back to the master branch. I'm going to go ahead and refresh and, in theory, pull in all the changes. So we should be up to date over here. We are. And what I'm going to do is take a look at that code that I mentioned, which is going to be our currency generator. I believe is the one that has it. Yes, it is. Okay. What we want to take a look at here is hang on. All right. I am going to go grab the piece that we need for that. I don't want that. I want... Okay, here's what we're going to do. So I don't want multiple people to update this active chat user list. So the way that I can get around that is I need to lock on this. So I want to have a private read-only object, and I'm going to call this I'm going to call it the active chat users lock, because that's what I want it to lock on. that's just going to be a new object. And basically what I want to do is I want to make sure that anyone trying to get this has to go through my property. So what I'm going to do to adjust this is instead of making it a field, I'm going to make it a property. That is initialized right off the bat. So this basically sets it up kind of like a constructor. So this is just going to automatically wire up. That's what that equals this is going to do. And actually, now that I think about it, I don't think I can even get away with that because I'm going to not use an auto property here, and I believe that only works with an auto property. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to return and I want to lock it. So I'm going to make sure that no one actually touches this property. So we are going to say return that or a new list of chat user. That's what we're going to do. But we don't want to do it this way because we want it assigned to this. So we want to say this equals that. And now that doesn't work right unless we actually treat that as the result. So that should be the way we write it. Oh, it's read-only. So I'm having it lazily initialized if I do it this way, which actually I'm going to skip that and just make this a return because we're assigning it based on that, kind of like it were a constructor. Now this is wanting me to get rid of this because I don't need to do this little return trick here. I can do it in a much simpler way. But what I want to do is I want to attempt to grab that lock. What I want to do is I want to do a lock on the active user's lock, which I could do a different name. Since there are multiple objects, because we have both the repository and this list, I'm doing it this way. So that's what I'm doing here. So essentially, the idea of a lock is you attempt to grab a lock, and then you do some work on it. Locking is an operation where only one thing can actually get in at a time. So the goal is that you attempt to grab the lock, and if someone else already has it, you have to wait your turn. That's probably the best way of explaining it. And so what a lot of locking patterns do is they'll try to be the only thing that does this. And actually, I'm just realizing I don't even want to do it this way. I want to make that almost be a property that only one thing can access at a time. Yeah, so here's what we're going to do. I am going to make a new class that has to do with the active chatters. So here's what we're going to do. Chat systems automation. I'm not sure where to put this right now, so I'm going to put it up here. So we're going to call this active chatters, or maybe chatter collection, chatters. Naming things is hard, guys. Naming things is hard. This is actually going to be what has the private whoops, I wanted that too. Let's get all of these. Okay. So I'm going to hide this away here. And I'm actually not going to put the lock on this. So I'm actually going to get rid of this for now. Yeah, just trying to think through the structure on this. And part of the reason why I don't like to prep these things in advance for you guys, I could go through and I could basically write all this code and then, you know, walk through it with you guys, but that seems silly because I could just do the same thing, but do it on stream so that you guys actually get to see my thought process as I go through this. So I'm going to do a private read-only, and I'm going to call it a chatters. Yuck. I really don't like that name. I might call it a chatters list or something like that, maybe. I'm not sure yet. Whoops. Okay, so we no longer have active chat users. We're going to use our new chatters set. And what that means is that in some of these places where I did like wheres and remove alls and other things like that, I'm going to need to put in my own methods that handle these things. Now, the way that I'm going to do that is I am going to make all the methods in here require that they get the lock on the active user's lock before they're able to do anything. So let's take a look at the fundamental domain concepts of what we're actually trying to do here. So this first one, we're trying to see, so I don't even know what this is doing. Let's see, if all names is a chat client on user notice. Okay, so this is if the person's not in our list, right? So this, I wish I'd broken out into a method to begin with. So chatters dot is watching user already. Right? So we're going to say chatters is watching user already, and we're going to pass in their name. So this should be a Boolean method that takes in a string that that's going to set up. Now this one, for this method, I think for this, we don't care about the lock. I think for this, we just want to go ahead and do it. Because it can respond back and tell us whether someone's in the list. And what we're going to do is we're going to lock on the next one. So I'm going to go ahead and say don't lock in here, just to remind us that you shouldn't lock for this one. So we're going to say underscore active chat users, and then make sure that the display name doesn't include this. And this is just going to be the display name for now. Okay. And the reason we don't want to lock here, whoops, is that the this is actually going to get called from within another lock. And you'll see that in a moment. Why does it want to make that public? Not sure why it wants to do that. Anyway. So the next thing that we want to do, so down here, this, to me, adding the user to the database, this should happen inside of that chatters collection. So we're going to say, I'm going to say watch user. And in this one, we do want to lock. So what we're going to say is, we're going to say, so we've already said once that the user's not in here, but I still want to be absolutely sure before we check the lock, before we grab the lock, because it is really stupid to it's really stupid to try and grab a lock if you didn't need to. So if we find out that we were already watching him, I named that wrong. This should be if not watching user. Or need to watch user. If need to watch user means we don't have him or her. So once we've got that, then we want to grab the lock on the lock, and then once we have it, in case someone inserted it in that time period, we want to check again, because if they've since been added, we don't want to grab that another time. So that's why we want to do this internal check. So we actually want to do that inside and outside of this. Now, the reason we did one out here is because we don't want to access the database if we don't. So we don't want to access the database if we don't need to. We don't want to grab a lock if we don't need to. But then even once we have the lock and we've accessed the database, we then want to make sure that we don't insert the duplicate. So this is actually the one that keeps us from inserting the duplicate. All the other ones are just there to make sure that we didn't do unnecessary work, because that check should be pretty easy, because I happen to know when this all applies that it's just a small in-memory collection, and it should be just of the people watching. So it should be a quick check of strings that are just in memory, and it's, you know, say, what, like, I don't know, 20 people, at least in our chat. I'm not sure how many people are in here right now. I don't like to pay attention to that while we're live on stream. So what we want to do is we want to just add the user into the database. So we're going to go .add and user from database. And that's going to shove that model object inside of this list. So that should get us our single one instance of that user coming into the system. The next thing that we want to do, because we're actually calculating this wrong, so some people could be getting bonus points of you guys that are in chat right now, because I don't remove you when you leave yet. So congratulations, anybody that's in here earning extra coins, you are welcome. This is a great stream to actually be here, because you can earn all kinds of extra coins that might survive in the database if I don't nuke it. No guarantees that I don't reset everything every single time. Okay, so that is how we got this set up. Need to watch user. This field is sometimes used inside a synchronized block and sometimes used without synchronization. That's fine. That should be fine. Why would I need to? I don't need to do that. It's just thinking I need to. I want to suppress this. I want to disable once with a comment. So it's thinking that because I checked this value at multiple points the way I did. But I am actually okay with checking this field here because all we're doing is looking to see whether or not this name is in here. So that's why this one's safe to have here, or should be. We'll find out when we actually attempt to run this. Okay. So this implies that we need to have a get enumerator method. So I don't need to make it see, it's telling me here that I need to make this an IEnumerable, is what it's suggesting. I don't technically need to do that. So I made this an IEnumerable of those. But technically, I just need to implement that method. I don't actually need to enumerate it. Actually, do I need both of those, or do I just need that one? I just need that one. Okay, so I need to get an enumerator of that, and the way I'm going to do that is by giving it that collection, but I don't really want to do that. So instead, what I want to do is be able to change each object. Now, I don't want to actually give it this enumerator. So there's got to be a nice way to do that. Don't want it modifying these objects without a lock on, so I think we want to move this inside the method. I think we want to move this inside, so let's do this instead. We're not going to do an enumerator because we don't want anybody accessing our data because we're locking on it. We're trying to keep this safe. Update each chatter. Right? And here's what we're going to do. We want to take an action that has an input value of a chat user, and that's it. Update to apply is what I'm going to call that for now. And essentially what I'm going to do, so for update currency, I'm going to do this. So I'm going to say active chat users. We are going to apply an update to them. For now, I'm going to stop writing out what those are. And then this is the operation to apply. Hang on one sec, guys. Sorry about that. Hopefully that's all I have to do. Let's see, it's chatters update for each chatter, and we're gonna say, hang on guys, sorry about that. So I'm going to say tokens plus equals 10. Now that should be the operation that we do now for each of these, assuming that I apply that in here. Update each chatter, and we're going to say update to apply active chat user. Yeah, sorry guys. Really did not mean to do that. So I'm kind of feeling like this needs to have this list, and maybe this is going to end up replacing the other thing. So I want to rename this. So I've called it chatters for now. I'm going to call it the chat user collection for now. And fine, we can rename that. And maybe currency generator disappears and becomes that, because I feel like the repository really should live in here also. Because I want it to be able to do the update in here, because I feel like it should update them and then do that. But I guess if they're already wired up, so here's the plan. I'm going to put this in here. We're going to have this actually know about it. We're going to initialize that in our constructor. which means that we now want to create this inside of our constructor here as well. So we're going to put this here. I don't think we'll need the repository out here anymore. I think it's really going to live inside of this collection. Hey, Wheelspin, how's it going? Once I'm done with this piece we're working on, one of the things we actually are planning on working on is the feature you were suggesting before, so I figure you'll probably like that. So now we can take a look at active chat users gets updated, and that is how we told it to do that. Okay. Yeah, exactly, Wheelspin. That's the... I want to put that in at some point, and it actually doesn't seem that challenging to put in. So we'll see how that goes. Oh, I called that winners list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say chat user collection and update a specific set of chatters. So we're going to say chat user collection dot update instead of for each. We're going to say update specific chatters. And what we're going to do is give it the list of chatters that we're updating. So that list, and yeah, list of names. That's good enough description of it. So we're going to pass in the winners list, which I don't like the name winners list, so I'm going to change that to list of names. There we go. Done. And so then this trick is actually going to happen in there. So we're actually going to do our for each in here. We're going to call this our active chat users. We're going to do a where list of names contains display name. And then what we are going to do is this. That is hilarious. So anyway, the I do find it funny. The automod actually caught you there, Wheelspin. The update specific then. Okay, so then we want to take in not tokens to add, like it's suggesting here. We want to take update to apply, which we are going to pass in as an x, and x dot tokens plus equals the tokens to add. And then we're going to call an update at the end of it. And we are going to call this... so let's grab this set separately. We're going to figure out who they are. So this is the chat users to update. So we're going to call it users to update. And then in order to not run into the problem of enumerating it multiple times, we're going to to-list it. So these are the people who have changes we need to put in. And so then we're going to do the update to apply. And the way that we're going to do that is we're just going to go ahead and call it passing in our chat user. And then we're going to do an update. Wait, what? Oh, because that's not a list. Whoops. There we go. Okay, so now it knows what to do with it. Hey! How's it going, guy? Alright. So that is our set of users to update. And essentially then this just becomes a filter, and we're doing the same thing. So you'll notice that I made these be exactly the same method now because we extracted out the update we wanted to apply. And so before I put our lock in here, I want to actually make these methods the same. So here's what we're going to do. This is a filter that I'm going to pull out as a parameter, assuming that it works nicely. So function chat user bool came out perfectly. We're going to call this our filter. Now, if you were paying attention, you'll notice that because I extracted that as a parameter the way I did, it actually brought this out here. So you'll see that it does this list of names contains our user, and it pulled it out here to our update specific chatters method call. So that did exactly what we wanted it to do. So what that means to me now is that I can call this method from the other one, because these are the same. There's only one difference. So when I call this, I no longer, actually, do I still need to pass in the list of names? Or am I not using it at all? I don't think I'm using it at all anymore. Perfect. I didn't use it at all. That's great, because it all got pulled up here. Which means that we are now down to the point where all we have is the action we apply. So this is the update we're doing. And then this is how we are filtering down to who actually gets the change. So here we're going to just call, whoops, unless I shift my hand over, we're going to say update to apply. And then in this case, we want to make another Lambda expression. But this time, since we want to update everyone, we're just going to say true. And hilariously, that is now possible. And actually, we should be able to do this instead. This should be able to be an expression body. So now that method is literally just calling the other one, which then makes me think that that's almost like a rename of that, but I like having the separate name for this, despite the fact that I could do this with a default value for our function here. Okay, so now I am ready to put that lock on here. So in order to make sure that no one's messing with this at the same time, I want to go ahead and grab this lock. We're going to make our update to this list of users. And actually, I can grab the list of users before we get the lock, which is nice because that's an operation that it doesn't take much time, but it's nice to not have that in the lock. Let's see. And then we want to do that and call the update, and then we'll leave the lock once we have updated. So essentially make our change, save it, and then get out. Technically, we don't need this to be in here, but it's probably nicer if we keep it in there for now. So this will slow down the speed at which we can complete an operation, but not by as much as you might think. Okay. So the next thing that we need to do is remove someone from the system. So let's go ahead and make a remove all, which I might call stop watching. Stop watching, and then we're gonna say user from DB. What? Chat client. Yeah, we're gonna say eventargs.displayName. So we're gonna basically tell it, hey, stop watching this guy. He doesn't, he doesn't matter anymore. Cause left the chat. Hey, Crimson Green, how's it going? So we're gonna go ahead and say active chat users, and then we're gonna remove all where they have the display name that we received. So we're gonna remove all instances of them But before we do that, we want to make sure that we have the lock. Now again, we're grabbing this lock because we don't want anybody else to try and use that user before we get in here, which actually, now that I think about it, is why we want to keep that inside the lock. Brain. Occasionally I use mine. Not all the time, but every once in a while. Okay, so that pulls that out there. We no longer have link in here. So what I like about this is we are no longer messing with as much stuff out here as we were before. Okay, what are we doing out here that we shouldn't do without... Okay, so this is... If they don't exist in the database, add them to the database. Again, I feel like that should be done under a lock. But we'll see. User from database. Create them in the database. Okay, so here's what I'm going to make. I'm going to make a private read-only object, and we're going to call this a user creation lock, or repository lock or something like that. I'm going to call it user creation lock for now. Hey! Thank you, Willspin. Much appreciated. Thank you for the subscription. Make sure you enjoy your emotes and spam them in chat. Don't spam them often in chat, but you do have access to the hype emote. So enjoy, have fun. You can celebrate our successes. And I actually have, hey, I appreciate it. That's really cool. So what I was going to say is the cool thing is I've actually put some thought into how to do that guessing game, and I think I know how we would want to do it in here. So hype, 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 hype. And I don't know if Crimson Green's listening right now, but he has the hype emote too. Heck, he's got his own hype emote because he's a gaming streamer. Let's see. So we want to use this lock when we are creating users. Repository, there it is. Okay, need to watch user from database, user create repository. Okay, so that's where we did it. It's right here. So I want to lock on the user creation lock. But what I don't want to have locked is I want to be able to add them to the list regardless, I think. Let me take a look. Need to watch user. That's going to lock in there. So that's going to lock regardless to check and see if we've already put them in. So in case two things attempt to go and do this at the same time, I don't want one lock waiting for the other lock. Alright, so that needs to be out there. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is attempt to make it out here. So we're going to grab that, and then we're going to grab the lock. Once we have the lock, we can check the database again. So we're gonna do this first. So we are going to say we're gonna try to pull it out of the database a second time. We're gonna say if it was null, attempt to get it a second time. If it's still null, go ahead and create one. And then we will have one for us to watch down on line 35. Now what's nice about that is I'm not doing any operations inside the lock that will attempt to get another lock. Wheelspin, I do actually work as a dev. I am actually an independent dev, so I work with clients, and I work on a contract basis for them. For quite a while, I was a so I've done consulting at different consulting firms. So I've worked through those, and I've also worked as an internal dev on a number of teams. So okay, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. We attempt to access the database a second time if we didn't get the record the first time. Not the worst code I've ever written before, and I think it'll work. Okay, so the other spot that I wanted to so this is create the user, is really what this is doing. So I'm going to make a safe get user method. Get or create chat user. And what's nice about that is that I can do the same thing here. I should be able to just say get or create the chat user right there. And actually what's funny is, yeah, see, that's funny. It wants to surround it with a lock now because it also recognizes the fact that we did that. So that one wasn't really using it, but whoops, it took in event args. That is hilarious. Oh, because it needs to turn it into a user. Okay, never mind. That makes sense. That makes sense. We're good. We're good. Yes, yes. Totally could. So that being outside of the lock, does it need to be? It could just be inside the lock. No, because I need it out there. Oh, but it returns from inside the lock now. And then that's how they would get it out there. Interesting. Yes, so because I moved this into a method, I can actually write this differently. That's wonderful, because I can return from inside the lock and it should be safe. Whoopsies. Got that. Paste that there. Return from inside here. Alright, and so now what I don't need to do anymore is that whole line of code. So now we're just attempting it once, and then that actually saves us that effort. Now there probably wasn't any extra work there most of the time, but that is quite a bit nicer. I like that. That's a good change. Glad I pulled that into a method. So now, because that happens synchronously, we do that, and that is separate from that lock. Okay, cool. The market of people that want cheats for stuff. There's actually a pretty large market of people that want cheats for stuff. But most of that market, I'm betting, doesn't want to pay for things. So, because there are enough free tools out there for that type of work, I'm sure. Cool. All right. Let's go ahead and get this change committed, and we're going to test it. Now, remember, because we're just doing this in Git, that I can go ahead and commit this change without much worry. Multi-thread safety. So I'm just going to call my branch multi-thread safety because we're trying to better handle some of the multi-threaded scenario that we're in. And we knew even when we were building it that we weren't actually going to handle that because for the 99% case we didn't really care about it. But once we start getting into running games and things like that where you can get coins in other ways, it is going to matter. So, so we're going to lock on repository and active chatter access is what I'm going to call that commit. Sorry I didn't drag it on screen, guys, but I am pushing it up to GitHub, so if you want to take a look at that commit, you can go ahead and click that link, head out to our GitHub, and take a look at the source code that we just committed. Because I did immediately push it out, too. Alright, so that should make that safe. Let's go ahead and actually test it, because I haven't yet. So we're going to go ahead and stop the bot. So it should have left the chat and should have said that down in the lower right-hand corner, which is to my left here. Exit, stage right. Okay. Oh, that is interesting. That is interesting indeed. Did you guys see that? The bot logged in, said hello world, and then immediately followed it with a message about being on stream. I may have stored data that I didn't mean to store in the database. I might have to ignore one of the columns. Although that might not be a problem, but what that means is that if we set up multiple interval messages, the bot is going to respond with a whole bunch of them all at once. Did this, no, delay in minutes, message text. How did it get that? Interesting. Either way, I agree with the bot. If you are enjoying the stream, go ahead and click the follow button and you'll get notified when we go live next time. Also, cool thing, because the bot is currently running, if you do click that follow button, the bot is actually going to chime in the chat room and welcome you to the stream. One other thing that I should mention that you may not have noticed is when Wheelspin subscribed, the bot also chimed in and said, "Welcome, Wheelspin, you are awesome, thank you for subscribing." So our bot does actually notice when you do things like subscriptions, follows, and other nice things like that, and it will respond accordingly. So the bot is currently running, and I removed the statements that tell us what the current coin totals are. So what that means is that I need to make a coins command. It doesn't respond to cheers yet, Crimson, but thank you. Now he's going to yell at me about that one. We're going to have to go write it. We can add that to the issue list. Yeah, that's right, Crimson. We can add that to the issue list, and we can make it so that the bot actually responds to cheers. Thanks, guys. Look at that. You started a cheer train. Okay, so we're going to call this the coins command. So we have a command right now. Whoa, it comes in as A. That's kind of weird. Can't believe that went that slowly. We're going to make it a simple command for now. Whoops. I'm going to take a look at the shoutout command that we wrote already. I don't need the follower service, but I do need something else, so I am going to look at how this one works. Because I want to steal its constructor, because I can't remember what I did with the constructors for these things. So our coins command, I do not want a follower service. Get out of here, follower service. Alright, so what we're going to do is we want a command that is looking for the command text of coins. And then what it's going to do is on its override, I want to override how it processes because I want it to have a replacement token in it. Actually, ooh, I just had a thought. So I was going to do this as a coins command. Now I think we should have a coins command that you can't delete from the system. Because I think if you're running this bot and you want to have currency, you don't want to have, stupidly just deleted the row from the database that makes coins, like calling the coins command possible. So I do want to have this. But it's actually making me wonder whether or not I need to implement my own custom process, or whether I could set up the static response string with a token and say something like this. So if we take a look at our set of initial data, which we're going to look at just to see what some of our tokens are, we have a token like this one, which is user display name. So we could say something like this. User display name has you know, blah coins, right? We'll say user currency total or something like that. But I think what we're going to do is this. We're going to override the processing ourselves, and I am going to take a look at the shoutout command again, because I want to take a look at how it does its process. So it did this. So it triggering is format the message, and then it's grabbing that. That's the stream name. I don't want to do that one. But the first argument, if there is one, could be the username. So this is a requested user. So we're going to call that specified user. So if specified user is not null, then what we're going to do is we're going to say string user to check equals ventargs dot chat user display name. So we're going to grab your display name. Welcome, One Reason to Live. Thank you for following. Hopefully that one reason is watching live streams of software development on Twitch, because that is a very good one. So what we're going to do is this. We are going to... So that's our user to check, and then we don't want to send that message. We want to send some other message, which is going to be this one. We're going to say user to check has tokens. And token total is going to be an integer, and we're going to say 0 for now. So congratulations, everybody is now reset back down to 0, sort of, kind of, but not really. Because in the database you should have your token amount, whatever that is, but now we should be able to ask for that amount. So I'm going to jump back over here. I'm going to get rid of our coins simple command. So that's going to be gone. And the way I'm actually going to nuke that, because we don't have a way to delete commands yet, but we will get that, so don't you worry, is I'm going to go over to view data and see if it just lets me delete this row. Delete coins. Click yes to permanent delete these rows. You won't be able to undo that. Yep, sounds good. Okay, bye. Dead. Totally not dangerous at all, guys. Perfectly safe. Okay, so now in our setup bot method, or I should say setup bot, not method, class. IR programmer. I know programming. Nah, words are hard sometimes, guys. Okay. Coins command. Yeah. Okay. That should be able to run. I'm going to go ahead and stop the bot for a second. So don't do anything too crazy, guys, because I'm stopping the bot. I want to start it again and try calling coins and just watch and see if it blows up. Interesting. It's doing that right off the bat now. You should look into that. Dev chatter has 0 tokens, and coins Crimson Green has 0 tokens. There we go. Okay. So it looks like that piece works, and I should be able to say coins Brendan Crimson wheel spin. And if I put that in, it grabbed the first one of Brendan. Okay, that's fine. That, I think, is what we expected it to do. So what we want to do is give this thing access to our active chatter list, or really more than that, we want to get it access to our repository to be able to pull that kind of data. Now, we're doing read-only, so we don't need to grab locks on it, because we're just going to grab the data. We're not going to be making anything from it. Black Elvis, I am going to implement a commands command, but I haven't done it yet. So I was planning on actually doing that today on stream. So we've got about 45 minutes left today, and I think we can knock that one out. So right after we do coins, I'm going to add the commands command. And the commands command, I'm actually planning on having it come directly out of the system, so no one's going to have to update the commands command. So it's not going to be like all the other ones where someone actually had to edit the list every time as the commands change. I want it to come straight from the actual data of the bot itself, so that should make it a lot nicer. Okay, so I want to have access to the repository in here, and I'm just going to give us straight up access to it because we're really just going to be looking up data. So I'm going to do just a quick try catch on this and not throw an exception when we eventually have an error because I didn't get this quite right. I want to do a single whoops, come on man. Oh, right, it is a chat user policy. Did I make a static on chat user policy? Yeah, chat user policy by display name, there it is. So user to check. So that is going to get us our chat user that we're looking at. And then token total is going to be equal to that amount. So I'm going to say chat user dot tokens. Okay, so this should actually get us our currency, and I think that's all it's going to take. I just have to wire it up now in our setup bot that it takes in the repository, which it should already have access to. Now this is just our dependency injection. We're just doing poor man's dependency injection, so we're just wiring them up right in here. In advance, we just have this method just wiring up all these. You have another ideas for cheers. You're making a jackpot wheel. It spins via magnets and such magic. If it stops in the right spot, the player wins the jackpot to the best of my abilities. All I can do in terms of communicating with it is via USB, is with a serial terminal program, which reads, writes, ASCII commands saved in a certain file. Well, that's actually really weird. So yes, you could do some kind of thing like that, but what actually would be interesting, Wheelspin, is if instead of doing it that way and having a physical thing, if you had a web page with transparency around the wheel, when someone cheers, they could get a wheel generated, and you could write one up there, spin it, and have the markers on the wheel get their numbers based on the amount that you cheered. So if you cheer 1, it's going to be low numbers. If you cheer 100, it's going to be higher numbers. And the prizes that you get out of it would be things like more in-channel currency. So that would be a cool way of doing that. Yeah, physical wheel's cool. You could do physical wheel. I'm probably not going to do physical wheel on my end for anything. And actually, now that I think about it, I see no reason not to just put all this inside of a full try block that's just going to do that. So this command won't blow up even if I do something stupid. We will not crash the bot because this command didn't work. It is not worth doing. Alright guys, bot's going offline. Sorry, give me a sec. Yeah, basically, Janiska, it would be adding gambling to the cheering, which would be a kind of a cool mechanic, to be honest. Alright guys, let's try out coins. Hey, there's my tokens. Jisku, do you have any? Nope, not yet. You just got here, huh? Or you didn't tell it you were here. It's not good at identifying that we're here yet. Let's try some other people. There we go. Okay, so cool. Our little coins feature works. So I'm going to go ahead and get that committed, because that is actually pretty nice. Now that we have thread safety, I don't actually have concerns about calling commands. So one of the ways the bot identifies that you are here is you use a command, and then the bot is going to say, hey, you've entered the room. So this is adding coins command. And I am actually going to send that up even though it's on a weird branch. It's kind of related in that we needed that branch in order to be able to do this step. Okay, so the next thing that I wanted to tackle today, guys, is a command that Black Elvis tried in chat a little bit ago that you guys may have seen. Yeah, exclamation point, I entered the room! You could actually say, oh, whoops, sorry, I made it mod only. Ah! I'm sorry, Wheelspin. I'm sorry. Good catch. Fixing. So I was going to get to a feature that Black Elvis asked us to put in here, and didn't ask us directly, just attempted to use a command. And any command that someone shows up in your chat tries to use and you say, hey, I don't have that command, you should wire up that command. There you go, Wheelspin. Alright, so see, that's all that's required in order to adjust permissions on these things right now. Hey, Janisku, you've been in here for a minute at least. Or a minute marker of the bot running. Hello, Zadumka? I apologize if I said that wrong. Just took a guess. And One Reason to Live. I am not going to give you a send me pizza command. Unless you mean that you want to send me pizza. And yes, you can send me pizza. That is totally fine. I am okay with that. I like pizza. It's delicious. What else do you guys have? See, oh, yeah. I've seen, like, my coins. I've seen points. I've seen, in one of the channels, it's light. No one ever knows what the currency command is, but that's why you need a commands command. So we're going to set up a commands command. So let's go ahead and do that now. This is going to be the commands command. This is also going to be a simple command. And for the commands command, I want to take in a couple of things and pass out a couple of things. So we don't need a repository for the commands command. Everyone is allowed to run it. First off, because I'm such a nice guy like that, I believe that everyone should be able to run the commands command, and I'm going to remember to do that right off the bat. The next thing that we want to do is, when we process the commands command, I want to send out a nice message to you. Based on that. So here's what we're going to do. So we're going to say, these are the commands you're allowed to run. And then your name. So we're going to say eventargs.chatUser display name. Yeah, I think that works. We're going to do a \n. Can I new line in here, guys? We're going to find out what happens when I do new lines in here. I'm actually not sure whether I can or not. We are about to find out. Okay. Let's take a look. Who the heck knows? Set up bot. We need a commands command. Commands command, which has nothing in it. There we go. So, Zadumka, we are going to add a commands command to our bot and essentially make it so that our bot can tell you what commands you are allowed to run on it. And I want to make it user specific so that we don't just specify all of the available commands in the bot. I want to say these are what you have the permission to do. Oh, yeah. I can do these things for you. Yeah, that kind of thing. Wow, Wheelspin, you are quick. You're on the ball there. Okay, so test foo. Yeah, nice. Okay, so we don't actually get new lines in that. So in that case, I'm going to do a comma separated list of commands that you have access to. So we're going to do this. We're going to put that in there, and then I'm going to put that there, and list of commands. I'm going to call it string of commands. String of commands. We're going to make a local variable that is a string of commands. We're going to make it a string.join on a separator of a comma, and we're going to say new list of string I'm going to pull out list of commands. Okay. String of commands equals a string.join of that list of commands. What's that want to do? Split declaration assignment? No. Okay. Alright, there we go. Yeah, there is no test foo command. Stop it, guys. Stop it. Rawr. Alright. So now we need to get access to that set of commands. So right now, the place that exists is actually in the commands handler. So when we set up the bot, I add all the commands to this. Now there's something interesting I can do here that you're going to laugh about. I'm going to do that, which is going to seem completely insane. Because it's like circular. It references itself, which references itself, and references itself, and which is kind of funny. Which is it's actually not going to be a problem. You'll see in a moment, but it's just kind of weird. I put the collection that this command is in here. So I'm just going to give it all the commands, because why not? It's just going to be essentially this is just a pointer to the beginning of this collection. So what I'm going to do here to make the initial list is I'm just going to say all commands where role required something or other. Actually, for now, I'm just going to say where true, and then to list. And now the reason I'm just doing where true right now is because I want to go look at the command handler. And the reason I'm looking at this one here, guys, is somewhere in here we do a role check. And yeah, so I put it here. This is the wrong place for this. I want to put this on the chat user itself. That's silly that it's there. I meant to go here onto the chat user. And what we're going to do is we're going to make this a private bool. Alright, take it from a private bool to a public bool. And instead of passing in the user, because this is an instance method, we're going to take in this. I am not thinking I want to take in a bot command, but I could, I guess. I was originally thinking that I wanted to do just the role, but I guess why not pass in the bot command, because it comes with a role requirement. And then we want to make sure that their role is less than or equal to that. And actually, I made a mistake. It's a really good thing Magnus isn't here, 'cause he might figure out what I did wrong. 'Cause I didn't do that right. But this should be a safe way to do this now. So if we didn't set a role, your role is everyone. Hey, welcome Black Elvis, thanks for following. So we're gonna do that, and yeah, see, all I have to do is go write the command that every user that shows up in our chat asks for, and they'll follow. It's totally great way to do things, guys. Okay, so I think the commands command is gonna work once I do that, so we're gonna say chat user dot can run command. So we're gonna say get all the ones where the user can run it, and list of commands, that's a list. We're gonna string join it, and we're gonna print that out, and it is a list of command. These are the list of commands that that is allowed to run, and we're gonna move your name up there because I like that phrasing better. So we're gonna say these are the commands that that person is allowed to run, and then a string of commands. But we want this to be a list of strings, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna say select. We're gonna say command text, but actually the way we're gonna do this is this. We're gonna say $, and we're gonna say, whoops, Curly's command text. So I'm actually gonna put the exclamation points inside of this, so that it's gonna print them out the way you expect to see it, and then it should comma delimit them. And we're gonna put a space in there so that the exclamation point has a space before it shows up. All right, guys. Whoops. Control break. Woo! Canceled my build. Success. I remembered it. Nope, not there yet, Black Elvis. Hang on. I didn't remember to stop the old bot. That's the problem. All right. That's why I canceled my build there. All right. Give it a shot now. These are the commands that Wheelspin is allowed to run. There you go. See? No, commands with an S, Janiscu. See, there you go. And you'll notice on mine there are a couple of extra commands that you guys don't have access to. So I'll hop in that rock, paper, scissors game. Now remember, who started? Was it Wheelspin? Yeah, Wheelspin. You want to do an RPS start, so it looks like this. Because I haven't triggered the game to just go on a timing. So do that command that I did. Yeah, do that start, and then that'll trigger. What now, eh? Are you Canadian? What now, eh? Please tell me that's what that means. That would be an amazing name if you really mean what now, eh? Hey, it chose rock. Congratulations, Black Elvis. You just won a game of rock, paper, scissors. And the cool part is that actually should have updated your tokens. So if we do coins and Black Elvis, you'll see that you have 140 coins now, because you won the game of rock, paper, scissors. So, very nice, everybody. Very nice. There we go. Okay, so cool. That actually worked exactly the way we wanted it to, and that commands command took us like, what, 10 minutes to run? Oh, you're French? Yeah, you know there are French Canadians, but I have a feeling you mean France and not Quebec. I have a bunch of friends that are French Canadian, actually. Okay, so what do we got? Ro, please make a GUI-based chatbot. So much easier to use. Yeah, Gridcore. We're going to throw a UI on this at some point. But for now, we don't really need to. And a lot of the goal is to make most of our commands work through the chat interface itself. That's part of the challenge that we've got here, is trying to make it so that our chat is what we're actually using for it. So that we can get as much functionality off of this and into Twitch as we can, because that's a little bit more fun to do it through there. But yeah, we will be adding that, and most likely it's going to be ASP.NET Core. So we are just a console application in C# right now. So we're just a .NET Core console application, which does create some interesting challenges for us, which I can show you. Give me 1 second to add a commands command into there, and I'm going to go ahead and push that out. And for those of you that don't know, all this code is out on GitHub, and you can check it out there. The other thing that I wanted to point out, so there's some funny stuff. So you commented that we should get a GUI on this, and we will. But this is a web project. This is not a web project, as is highlighted right here, which does some really funny things. So if you're running any .NET Core stuff, you might have noticed that ASP.NET Core has basically all the attention and everything going towards it. So that's actually part of the reason why we're not using ASP.NET Core, is because I'm trying to see what things are specific to .NET Core and what things are specific to ASP.NET Core, because there are a number of things that are surprising. So the one I want to point out is right now is we're using user secrets, which is a way for me locally to have my config information that I don't want to have committed, so usernames, passwords, that sort of thing, in a separate location on my computer. In order to access those, what should actually happen is right below this manage NuGet package and right above set a startup project, there should be a user secrets thing there, but it doesn't show up. But if I change my project, so literally this is like that .web, you'll notice it reloads that, and it actually has reloaded my whole thing. You'll notice the icon here changed. That's now a web icon in Visual Studio there. That is all it took to make it think that this is a web project, and now all of a sudden I have access to manage user secrets. Now I'm not going to click that because I don't want to have to deal with the consequences of clicking that, but literally that suddenly enables a whole bunch of ASP.NET Core features, just changing the project SDK that it's using, and we're back now. Okay, so Gridcore, you are the co-founder of a Twitch community called Skynet Casters, and you're wondering if I'd be interested in joining. Gridcore, let's talk about it offline. Just send me a whisper or something. We also have a Discord that we use here, which even if I do join any other communities, we will always maintain our dev chat or Discord. Yeah, one reason to live, isn't that neat? Like, you just change that .web, and like suddenly it thinks you're a web project. And now the reason that works is actually because how to phrase this? In ASP.NET Core, you really are just a console application that spins up some extra stuff. We don't need launch settings. That's actually one of the problems, that launch settings I just nuked. It will automatically create that under your properties when you do that. So put your W on your other side there. Yeah, so yeah, so it's back. You just do a /W and then do it. It's like the old days. You start your commands with a slash inside of a chat program. Okay, so that is how we get our commands command running, so actually, one reason to live, if you want to suggest new commands, go out to our GitHub and make suggestions there. So if you go to the issue tracker on GitHub, which actually I'll just pull up so you guys can all see that. We will bring it up right here. So this is our GitHub for this. And if you want to add any commands, if you want to suggest any commands we make, you can put them here. The other thing is we do accept pull requests. We've had some people from the community send them in, and we will usually discuss them and put them on here. Yeah. So anyway, because we have this add quiz questions, for example, which is a whole big set of command fun. That's not just one simple thing. our rock paper scissors game is now done, actually, because our rock paper scissors game kind of works. The only last thing that we want to have is make it time limited, rather than be triggered based on a command. So we should do that. Display timestamp on all content and use a cooldown, global cooldown. Yeah, so those are some interesting things. Yeah, so I will check those out, guys. Let's see. So let's go ahead and take a look back here. Ooh, that's funny. We don't need those anymore. Okay, so we're calling these commands, and let's take a look at our rock, paper, scissors game again. Before we do that, I am going to commit this. Removed unused usings. Let's go ahead and get that in there. We're going to push that out, and then I'm going to do a quick pull request on that. So always important to make sure you get those pull requests in there, code merged in. I'm going to take a look at what's in this. Better currency handling and meta commands. Let's take a look at these changes. So this is part of our currency handling, and this was, we added in watching users, and we called it watching users, which is kind of like the system is paying attention to you. It knows that you're there, and it's going to give you stuff based on that. There's our meta coins command that we added in that doesn't do anything all that weird. It is runnable by everyone and doesn't do anything all that crazy. Commands command, which takes in a set of commands, looks over the list, and tells you which ones you're allowed to use. Seems pretty normal. And that is switching it out so that we are now locking and a little more careful about how we manage the user collection. That's checking permissions about using commands, and then adding the 2 new meta commands and removing the coins command from the simple set of commands. Alright, I think that's ready to merge. Gamer2112, this bot, we will be connecting it to Discord, but it is it currently connects to the Twitch chat. So we are going to connect it to a couple of places, though. But welcome, welcome. So let's take a look at our issues. So I really want to get this rock, paper, scissors game finished up. We actually have this now. So I am going to close this issue because we definitely have an actual database that we're really using, and it's persisting between these. So we were talking about our rock, paper, scissors game. So I think the piece that still needs to happen with this is triggering it based on a timer. And wheel spin, once we get this working, we're going to have a couple of other things to look at. Yeah, wheel spin, connecting to YouTube is going to be a whole different beast. So connecting to YouTube and connecting to Mixer are going to be separate pieces that we're going to do, and the reason we're going to do it separately is that I believe as Twitch affiliates and partners, you're not allowed to actually dual stream to multiple locations. I think you do, for that, give Twitch exclusive rights for like 24 hours or something like that. So likely what we'll have to do if we go that route is set it up so that the bot does a single connection to one of those. So if someone's a Twitch streamer, they'll use the Twitch connection. If they're a YouTube streamer, they'll use the YouTube connection, and on and on. Because I have a feeling that most of the services like you to be exclusive on that. One thing I should mention, a lot of our videos, I'm going to start putting these out on YouTube. the recordings of these, but they'll always be at least a 24-hour delay because of that Twitch 24-hour exclusive. And I do like Twitch's interface better than YouTube's and Mixer's. But that's personal preference. I'm a gamer, so I've been using Twitch as a gamer for a long time. So I'm sure part of it's from that. Hey, welcome, gamer. Thank you for following Gamer2112. Much appreciated. So let's take a look at a rock, paper, scissors game again. And yeah, this is just a little gambling game that we can do in chat with the bot. And what we're going to do for it is I want to make it so that it's triggering based on the intervals, which right now we have just a simple like a task.run that we're using. Yeah, YouTube chat is supposed to be a real challenge to work with. Twitch, for example, just uses IRC, so people have been writing libraries and systems to connect to IRC forever. So that's part of the reason why it's so easy to connect that one. So what I want to do is open up our bot main, and down here, inside of this, you will see that we do a task.run, and we are basically looking for work to do once a second. That's how long our refresh interval is. And once every second, our bot checks to see if it needs to do anything. So it runs all necessary actions that it needs to take. So I want to jump over to this. So did we make any interval actions? We did currency update. Nice. Nice. Go me. I started doing that. Okay. So I almost want to do this as game update. Now I'm going to start it for now as rock, paper, scissors specific, but I have a feeling this is going to be able to be like a game updating thing, and we're going to be able to use it for quizzes and other games as well, and maybe voting and other such commands like that. We're going to call this a rock, paper, scissors update, and we're going to call it an interval action. So this is really cool. I'm glad that this is the way it works. Okay. So I want to have a previous run and an interval in minutes. I don't really need the currency generator, but it kind of got caught in my select there, so I'm going to get rid of it. Goodbye. Okay. So our previous runtime is now. I wonder if that's what's getting us. It's not a minute after our previous runtime. I wonder if something like that, it's like running too quickly and getting to the time to run so fast that now hasn't changed, but that seems impossibly fast. I thought now at least got down to, you know, like fractional, like it got down to milliseconds or something, but I might be wrong there. Interval in minutes, we're going to set you from the constructor. There we go. And then... and actually, now that I think about it, I'm not sure we need to put that in the constructor. I think that might be able to just default in here, but we'll put it in the constructor anyway because we might want to store that as a configuration of something at some point, somewhere. Is it time to run? And actually, this code might need to go live in a base class somewhere, something like that, because this just seems like it's going to be working this way every single time for everything. We're just going to replace that with a return. And actually, this should be an expression body then. Oh man, that got simple. Nice. Okay, so there's is it time to run? And then what I want to do is I want to set previous runtime. And what do we want to do after the time interval's gone by? So maybe we want to set this to a minute. Basement199, welcome, thank you for following. Yeah, the winner gets tokens, but we want this to trigger the other one. So let's go take a look at the other command, the rock, paper, scissors command. What does this do when you do a start? we call play match, which is right here. No, not play match. If it's not start, where did we use start? If argument 1 equals start and the user wants. Oh yeah, play match. This is the one that we want to do. Should we be triggering this off the other thing instead of this? Just tokens on the currency generator. Announce winners. Bot choice. It's on this command right now. Interesting. So this needs to know about that one. So I guess what I'm thinking is, hey, thanks Wheelspin. I'm having trouble sending some hex stuff via serial comms. Need to figure it out. Be back later. Okay, cool. Good luck. Have fun. GLHF. Alright, so I think when looking at this, I want to have something else other than the command running these. So I am going to separate out another class off of this. Public class rock, paper, scissors, game. And we're going to make these public now. Or maybe internal, I don't know. But public for now. Not huge on that. Join match should be in there also. What am I doing? We're going to put that in there as well. So all these are part of this new class that does this. The other one is just going to be triggering this one. Now the reason why we're pulling this out is it's not used here. Okay. This is a surprisingly big change right here, guys. So these pieces feel like they need to be part of this game. And so the reason I'm pulling this out is that the game I want to have be in both the interval trigger as well as in the command. So they're both working on this instead of anything else. So the currency generator is the piece that we need to have in the constructor. So that one no longer needs it. So this needs to get set in the constructor. So yep, initialize the field from the constructor. And then we can access it. So now we're good. What we need to do instead is give this a rock, paper, scissors game. So this is going to get a private read-only rock, paper, scissors game, which we're going to call underscore rock, paper, scissors game. And then this is going to get initialized in the constructor instead. There we go. And so now we can call play match and join match from here. And then instead of saying competitors any, we're going to say is match started. And what that's going to do internally is be a Boolean that returns that value. Not is match started. Is ready for new match. Is ready for new match. There we go. And the reason I like that phrasing is that eventually we might have some kind of a, like if there is a cooldown on it, that could check that as well. Something like that. So if is ready for new match, respond with that. And then this other one is if username is, okay, so that was if they're the one that's starting it. So we're going to say if user is allowed to start it, right? So we're going to say rock, paper, scissors game dot actually, if you pass in start as that argument, then we're going to call this... Actually, this piece is going to disappear anyway, I think. But I'm going to put it inside of play match. We're going to say... if... whoops. Need to pass in the username. You know what, we need to pass in the chat user, I think. Triggering user. Hey, Zadumka. We are working on our rock, paper, scissors little gambling game that the bot can do. What that means is we are trying to see if where did I store that? And let me just Control Z this a couple of times because I don't remember what that command was that I was checking. Alright, now we're going to put it back where we were. We're going to say if competitors... first competitor. There we go. So if the username is the first competitor, or triggering user dot role equals user role dot streamer. So I am allowed to start the game early, we're going to say. But no one else is. Not even a mod. Okay. So... yeah, so what we've got here now is a simple little check on this. So we have shifted this code into another class. And now we are going to say... what do we use username for? We use it in a couple of places. That is never going to be null. If that's ever null, I'll be really impressed. Because something went seriously wrong if we don't actually have a chat user there. Although, I'm actually just going to switch it back to just putting username in. We're going to get rid of my allowed override. I am not going to be allowed to override. Whoops. Just going to put that in there. So only the person who started it is allowed to run it right now, which is back to the way it was a moment ago. We're going to put this in its own file. And then our rock, paper, scissors game is inside of our games rock, paper, scissors. There's the rock, paper, scissors game. There's the command. I don't know what rock, paper, scissors is, but we'll figure that out later. So Zadumka, the game right now actually is fairly playable. The thing that I'm trying to adjust is that I want the end game where the bot makes its choice to be automated. And so what I want to do is make it so that the interval that it runs on, so that it has like an interval trigger. So right now the way the bot stops is that someone says, okay, it's time to run the game after a certain number of players have joined, but I want to set it so that after a time elapses, we automatically run the end of the game. And so this is going to start us down the path of creating the concept that we can have a running process in the bot that's waiting for you know, like allowing a window of time for users to do things inside of the chat and join in if they want to. and then once that time window has elapsed, to automatically do something else. So we already do this based on, event triggers, so someone can send a new command. Yeah, so Janisku is correct. When someone wins the game of rock, paper, scissors, so essentially you're playing against the bot, when you win, you get tokens, which right now don't do much, except, maybe give you bragging rights. So right now you can say coins, and there's a number of coins that you have earned in chat. And that is how that works. So now that I've separated this out, let's go ahead and make it so that our interval trigger on that. So our rock, paper, scissors update needs to take in this game. So we're going to take in a private read-only, excuse me, private read-only rock, paper, scissors game, which we're going to call a rock, paper, scissors game. We're going to pass this in as a constructor parameter. And then what we want to do is we want to go to where our other interval actions are set up. So I'm going to go to where this one was created, inside of setup bot. And here I want to create a rock, paper, scissors update, and we're going to call it a RPS update. It's not taking in a currency generator. It's going to take in the same thing as this, which is a new rock, paper, scissors game that takes in a currency generator. And then this piece, that's going to get extracted as a rock, paper, scissors game that we're going to pass in down here. So these will use the same one. The commands will set these up. And I'm going to put this up here right after the currency generator for now. I am actually not cheating, Zadumka. That is correct. I don't need to cheat. I win without cheating. I win like 99% of the time. But the reason I have more tokens than anybody else is that I'm always in the chat when the bot is running, because I get to decide when the bot is running. So the bot will never be in the chat and earning coins if I'm not here. So I get a slight advantage in coin collection. Let's see. I think that piece will work now. So what we're going to do is this. After a minute, we're just going to go ahead and say play. Oh, I don't know which chat I'm in. I need to specify which chat I'm in. Okay, interesting. Alright, so yeah. Lumen, do you ever know what's going on? Even when you're in a game? Coins are generated by time, so it gets easy. Yeah. How will you win without winning? Yeah. Alright, so I think what I want to do is trigger this new action to be run when we're ready for that to happen. Okay, so we need to know which one started up the game. So what we're gonna do, maybe it's all chat clients know that the game is happening? No, because one of them was triggering it based on a command. Okay, so here's what's gotta happen, guys. Here's what's gotta happen. We need to go to our rock, paper, scissors command. Inside of our rock, paper, scissors command, when we start a new game, we need to trigger that update starting. So it's at this point, right after we do this, rock, paper, scissors game we are going to attempt to start new game is what we're going to do. We're going to pass in our chat client, and we're going to pass in the username of the person that's starting the new game. I think that's the way we want to do it. And I'll show you guys why in a minute. Okay, so now we're going to announce it from in here. Exactly, Janisku. The command trigger is going to start the interval. So instead of just starting the interval automatically, we're going to do it from inside of here. So it's not going to be in setup bot anymore. It's going to be from inside of there. So when you start a new game is when we're going to start a new interval. And this isn't just going to take in the game. This is going to take in our chat client as well. So it's going to save the chat client, because this is what we're going to use when we announce the winner down here. We're going to play that, pass that in, and then we don't actually want to pass in the triggering username. That's not a concept anymore. We're going to be getting rid of that. So actually, we're no longer going to trigger it based on that. Whoops. Okay. Which means I need to remove this from the other place that it's called, which is here. There's no longer a concept of passing in start. So the only way to trigger this is based on the interval now. Okay. RPS command. This question is probably going to show my ignorance, but why pass in the chat client instead of iChat client? Wouldn't the interface be more loosely coupled? I thought I did pass in an iChat client. Let me take a look. Where did I pass in a chat client? If I did, that was a mistake. So good catch if I did. It's an iChat client. Oh, Zadumka. I'm just that good at all kinds of games. I don't need to cheat to win. I'm just, you know, really, really good. You can't find any video online of that guy, Lumen, that was in here, killing me in games. Definitely not. That's never happened before. I would remember that. If that had ever happened. It has happened. I was kidding. And I don't think I've won 99% of the time. It's only like 90% of the time anyway, so... Whoops. Bot's running. Okay, so... when the interval's over, we're going to run that. Okay, so our options... Yeah, so the bot is actually what plays against us. So we're each individually playing against the bot, is basically how the rock, paper, scissors game works right now. That's how we can all play at the same time. Because obviously it would be silly if we played the game and got to see what the other people picked before we chose. That's just the bot yelling because it tried to build and it can't because the bot itself is running. Okay, so now what happens when we start the game? Attempt to start new game. There we go. So what we want to check and see is the game running? So I'm going to say if we're ready for a new game, then we can create one. But we want to check more than just the collection of users now. There needs to be a Boolean, and it needs to be a locked Boolean instead of this. So we only want one game going at a time. So we're going to do that. We're going to do a private read-only object and call it game start lock. Not the best thing ever, but it's not the worst I've done. Don't worry, guys. And then we're gonna say if yeah, we're just gonna make that an is running game. And it's going to complain about the fact that I put that both inside and outside. Actually, I'm just going to do that. We're going to lock, and then we're going to check and see if we're running. And we're going to say if we're not running a game, whoops. If we are not running a game, then we want to start up a game. I don't think I get it. Each of us is individually playing a game against the bot, Zadumka. And if you beat the bot, so it's like if you go to a casino and you play blackjack, you're playing against the casino, not the other players. That's how it works. So that's basically the way this one is set up. At this point, we need to do a task.run on this thing. And that's how we're going to trigger this. But I've gone a little bit over already, so I'm probably going to add this when I get back. Our next stream will be on Monday, so I think I'm actually going to wrap here, guys. What we're going to do is we're going to emulate the other piece. So I would like to get it so that I don't have to actually put the threading code in here. I'd like to get it so we're accessing the interval triggering piece that we have and just inserting into there, or firing off a disconnected event and having something else respond to it. One or the other. Because I don't really want to put this in here. Connect this to the interval actions. Yeah, no, no, the bot's not me, look. So if I do a, see, look, I'm dev chatter, that's dev chatter bot. We're totally different people, not the same at all. That's what we're gonna do for today. Anyway, so I guess I want to take a moment and thank everybody who showed up today. So thank you everybody who did a follow, who cheered. Thank you for the subscription, Wheelspin, and thanks everybody for chatting. Before you go, can you recommend? Yes, One Reason to Live. I can absolutely recommend some other streams to check out. Which actually, I will suggest C# Fritz. So if you go check out C# Fritz, that is another channel. That is Jeffrey Fritz. He is actually a Microsoft employee. He's a good dude. You should check out his channel. Almost everything he does will be C#. So that is another good stream that I would recommend that you take a look at. And yes, that shoutout command is triggered by our bot. So that is one of the mod and streamer only commands. So yes, I'm glad you guys enjoyed the stream today. Again, if anybody is in here who didn't click that follow button, make sure you do that, as that is the best way to know when we go live, so you can make sure that you catch every stream that we do here on Dev Chatter. And a couple of other people, we do actually want to thank C# Fritz, who I just shouted out, because he hosted us at the beginning of this stream with an auto host. And I thanked everybody that cheered and subscribed and chatted and helped out with things. Remember, if you are interested in taking a look at this code, it will be out on GitHub. And if you want to keep on talking to us after the stream, go ahead and join our Discord, which is a chat program that is mainly focused on gamers, and it's pretty common for Twitch channels to have a Discord associated with them. So go ahead and check that out. And we will be streaming again on Monday. So we are in Eastern Time, so we started today at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, which that's UTC minus 4. But on Monday, we will be streaming at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and it'll be the same on Tuesday. We may miss our Thursday stream this week because I'll be at a conference, so if I can figure out how to stream while I'm there, then I will bring it back, but it might get canceled this week, just a heads up there. So for those of you that are figuring it out, if you want to go to UTC, just add 4, so a 2 p.m. Eastern Time stream will be about 6 p.m. UTC. So if you're in Europe, it'll be in the evening, and if you are in the US, it'll be either morning or early afternoon for you. And if you're not in the US or Europe, I apologize because my stream's probably not at a great time for you, but hopefully you're either up late or early and can catch us then. Zadumka, I'm not cheating. I actually have just gotten lucky and win that a bunch of times. So I'm not actually predicting the random choice. It just happens. I think it's just because I'm in every game, and so it seems odd because I win frequently. In theory, I should win about a third of the time. So that's about it. Yeah, so check out those links, and I will catch you guys all on Monday. So have a great rest of your weekend, and thank you for chatting with me today.